no one in their right mind would say that New Testament theology demands that we exclude the gospel from any nation that doesn't appear in the Bible. That's ridiculous and absurd.
Question. I wonder about the nations outside the Near East. What do you think about Yahweh's relationship with them? Did Divine Council members look over any faraway nations?
Well, I think the only thing we conclude is that the Deuteronomy 32 worldview is supposed to be comprehensive for its day because of Genesis 9:19. These are the nations that descended from the sons of Noah after the flood, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And those are the nations that are listed in Genesis 10, Table of Nations. And in Genesis 9:19, these are the nations of the whole earth. Okay, it uses this encompassing language that you see in the flood narrative, but people I think miss this one for whatever reason. And then I'm a big believer that we should use Genesis 9:19 as context for how we read the flood, which inevitably is not a global event. That is, the story is designed to be comprehensive for the world that the biblical writers knew existed. But it is not comprehensive for the world that we know exists, because the nations of the whole earth in Genesis 9:19 we know are not really the nations of the whole earth. There's a lot more to the globe than what you get in Genesis 9:19 and Genesis 10. So I think these passages are designed to inform us that everything that wasn't Israel is not chosen, is not elect, is in theory under the governance of something else, some other God. And we can extrapolate that lesson to the other nations of the world, just like we would extrapolate the Great Commission to the nations that we know exist. I mean, no one in their right mind would say that New Testament theology demands that we exclude the gospel from any nation that doesn't appear in the Bible. That's ridiculous and absurd. It also goes quite contrary to uttermost parts of the earth language, that you get in the Bible for where the gospel's supposed to go. And of course, God knows better. God knows how big the globe is, even if the biblical writers don't. And so I think it's God's intention, again, to teach us that unless you're Israel, you're under the dominion, you're under the judgment, you're owned, essentially, you're under servitude of some other God, and you have to be brought back into relationship with the true God, because only Israel was elect. And it's through Israel that all the other nations are going to be blessed. And that includes the ones that the biblical writers didn't know about. So, we have to let the Bible speak to what it speaks in its own context, which is Genesis 9:19. But we also have to be cognizant of the language in the Bible that allows us to extrapolate beyond what they knew and understand that God knew that the world was a whole lot bigger. And he still wants the nations of the world brought into relationship with him. Why? Because they're all human. They're all Adam. They're all imagers. Every human is an imager, no matter what nation they come from. So God is still interested in reclaiming all of that for himself.